Okay, doing a little bit of a different open. My counterparts here, Team 7, have accused me of for knowing the most, also having the least amount of Naruto things. I would say I have a good amount of Naruto things. I just can't show you guys because of, spoilers. But also...
No.
It came in the mail literally today.
I can't believe I was literally just giving you crap about not having anything in your shot.
I know. So listen, I don't think I'm gonna wear it the whole time. But if you're listening, you need to go watch our video companion because I am wearing the Hidden Leaf headband right now. I had one. I've got like a anti one, but I don't really love the look of it. Anti Leaf, you'll see that later. But that's a little bit of a spoiler. I can't believe I just said that.
I'm gonna forget. I'll forget that.
It's fine. It's fine.
I'm not worried about it.
I
don't
didn't
ever
wear
forget
it.
anything. So
Yeah, I know you don't. Zach remembers everything, but I didn't want to wear it because I didn't want to spoil anything. I ended up saying something anyways. But I got this, and I had one as a child that I loved. That it was a bandana, and then like the metal plate was in the center, so you could kind of wear it however. And we kind of saw a lot of that with this batch of episodes. We'll get into that, but I'll leave it on for a little bit. It doesn't. It's like it feels really weird, and obviously it's like not really like form fitting the way it is in the show. Obviously, that anime is different. But
Still
anyways, welcome. Yeah, welcome to Team 7. This is episode number 4. We are going over the end of season 1. We're looking at episodes 20 through 25. So we just left the Demon in the Mist or whatever we name that. I can't remember right now. And now we're looking at the beginning of the Chunin Exams. So we get a lot of side character introductions, and we're back in the Hidden Leaf. We see some fights between Sasuke and Rock Lee, who is not a fan favorite here, but for me it is. But we'll just have to see if he gets 86 in Asher's words.
Oof. What a strange person and his sensei. I know we'll get there.
Yeah. But anyways, let's get right into it. I mean, we can honestly start there. Episode 20 doesn't really have much going on.
Except for one thing.
Okay, let's start there.
Dude, when that song started at the beginning, I was like, am I watching Full House right now?
The first note I made, is this 90s sitcom music? What's happening?
Yeah.
So you have just been introduced to like quintessential Naruto, like everything is happy, everything is fine, like
I'm here for it, bro.
Music. And it's so nice and it's so nostalgic to me. I mean, shocker. But I heard that and was like, I love it. But that's interesting that you guys, the 90s sitcom, that's really funny.
Well, I know I just said there's one thing, but there's really two.
Okay.
My boy Kanahamaru is back.
Your favorite?
Nah, man. His little gang. I was like, there's more? There's 3 of them.
Oh my gosh.
So, yeah.
Did you not like the fake rock, though?
I mean, it was funny for sure.
Yeah.
I was like, who is this trying to sneak up on Naruto right now? But I had a sneaky suspicion that little goober was, but then he was accompanied by 2 friends that were equally
gooberish
for me. Yeah, gooberish.
Yeah.
You can call them annoying. They're annoying.
I don't even know if annoying's the word because it's not annoying. It's just, I just don't jive with it. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. I hope he changes my mind in the future.
I have a sneaking suspicion that they're going to do him justice and maybe that whole little trio. I hope so. Because otherwise it is annoying. It's kind of cute, but I don't know. I don't know what's
I'm
going on with him.
open-minded enough to not be like, nope, he was out in the beginning, he's out now,
Yeah.
in my opinion. I'm open-minded enough that if he is justified, I'm here for it. But
Also, why were they doing all the chores? What were these like D missions, D list missions?
Yes.
Okay.
Basically. So all those D-list missions, like we're heavily implied that time has passed between um the Zabuza arc. We'll just call it that. It's gonna be easier for me.
Sure.
Zabuza arc and now. There's been time. They've been back in the village. Everybody's healed up. They've been doing different missions. It's not like got back from Zabuza, a few days pass, and then immediately Chunin exams. It's been some time. They never say how much, but it's been some time.
Like maybe weeks, because I made a note of that. Like Naruto's so ready for this next mission. He's like, I want a real one. And I was like, how do you want a real one? Like you all just went through hell, kind of like
Yeah.
Sasuke died and you watched 2 other people die very painfully and emotionally wrought. This is insane.
Yeah.
He's like,
Yeah.
all right, let's go. But that's 12-year-olds for you, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. The time, it's not long. I'm not saying like it's been like 6 months or anything like that, but I'm led to believe, a few weeks to 1 or 2 months, maybe.
they've settled back into village life from going
Yeah.
on an adventure, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Another thing that sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You got it.
I was just going to say another thing that was funny that I made a note on in this episode is this is around, early 2000s. We've established that. But the water animation in this like beginning piece of this episode, it almost looked 3D, and on the video you'll see I'm holding up air quotes here. I love it. It made me think of like Treasure Planet or like Atlantis from the Disney sphere. But yeah, I just thought that was a neat little touch, but also it kind of made me giggle because we're going with this 90s sitcom music paired with this like 2D mixed with semi 3D animation, and it brought me back to that nostalgia factor. I feel like it's going to be brought up every week, but
oh yeah,
what
for sure.
What water are you talking about? Oh, I see, like the waterfall.
the waterfall, and then there's like a river or something
Yeah.
where
Okay,
they like
sorry. I'm like
zoom in
skimming
on the
through it right now.
sunset.
Yeah.
I jotted down a quick question, and I don't really remember why, but I put, where does Naruto live?
Yeah,
I think that location just kind of confused me thinking back to it. And I don't really know, is it like his own apartment and he kind of lives there by
Yeah.
himself? Okay.
No, he does.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is
lives
part
there.
of that, you don't have to tell us too much, but is part of that being like ostracized from the community a little bit for the whole, I keep thinking Ninetales, like the Pokemon, the nine-tailed fox, right?
Yeah. So there's probably someone on the internet that knows more than me about this. As far as I know, it is yes is my
Okay.
guess, but like I don't see. I like there's memes out there that like why didn't the third Hokage like take better care of him, basically.
Sure.
Or make sure that he was like living with somebody or something else, like beside like an orphanage. Like just an apartment on your own at 12 is like weird, but there may be an explanation to that. I don't know beyond just kind of like watching it and accepting like, okay, so he lives alone and that's just like fine. Everybody's like, that's what he should be doing. But it may very well also be attributed to like nobody in the village wants to be around him.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Well, that's starting to change, but you know what I mean? Like overall.
Yeah. I love that it's starting to change. I'm kind of glad we didn't have to see all the lead up to that change where he's just like by himself. It would be so sad.
Yeah.
I did have a question about when they were walking the dogs. Was that one of Kakashi's hounds?
No.
No, okay, because you mentioned
Yeah.
they're in some other place. Anyway,
Yeah, I don't know like where those ninja dogs like live, quote unquote. I
yeah.
mean, I would assume somewhere with Kakashi, but I don't think they're also like sentient, obviously,
Hmm.
and like able to perform tasks and missions. So I don't know if there's like some dog land somewhere or what. But um but no, that wasn't one of his.
Okay.
So uh moving on out of 2020 is it's weird because none of 20 is filler. I mean, there's some filler in there for sure. Like it's mixed, but um
We
it's
could call it
also,
world building.
yeah, it is. I'd say that's a great way to put it. It's world building. But we get into 21 and we start seeing a little bit more development, I guess. We That's whenever we first get introduced to other ninja in the Leaf around their age. And we see Rock Lee. So let's talk about that.
Woof. That's one word for you. Woof.
Okay, how
What
do
do you
you
think,
feel about
Zach?
it, Zach?
I'll say this. Very early on, if I could grow hair, I would do that. I would bowl cut it like Rock Lee. 1,000%. Um he seems how do I put this? He seems like somebody that I would at least have a conversation with in person. Cuz
You guys,
I'm so curious about so much of this guy. His outfit, his hair, it's too intriguing for me to be like, "Nah, I don't want to talk to you." I I would be on his team. I'd defend him any day of the year.
me too. Um, so that is, I love your all's takes.
He's cringe.
No, not, I
Here,
don't think so.
here's what I
But
think. He feels like people I've played video games with before who are kind of know it all, kind of full of themselves. And it's like, man, can we just play the game and like have a normal freaking conversation instead of what you're
Mm.
doing?
I feel that. I feel that, and I see why you think that.
Okay. I'm assuming this is
But
going to change. God, I hope so.
it might. We're gonna
He's
have
your
to just
Konohamaru.
see.
Yeah,
But
there you go.
I think that your all's takes right now are something that you need to remember.
Okay.
Not just specifically about Rock Lee, but like about Connor Homeru, about Rock Lee, about Inari, who I think I spoiled that we won't see him again. But stuff like that, that your first impressions versus, after character development, because things will change. I'm not trying to give anything away, but things will change. You guys do need to at some point just go into whatever episode. You can do 21 if you wanted, because that's the first time we actually are introduced to him, and watch it in dub, at least a little snippet of it, and watch it in dub and listen to his voice in dub, because it is legendary, dude. Like I think that it's one of the most like iconic dub voices in Naruto.
You're talking about Rock
Uh
Lee, right?
yes,
Okay.
Rock Lee.
Okay.
Here
Because he's so unique and so different, and the voice acting is also so unique and so different, and I think they do a great job of it. And that may be a hot take, but
I have a
I
confession.
yeah, go ahead. You already did it.
I had to this week because I was so confused with everything we're about to uncover in these episodes. I was not tracking with this entire exam experience by reading this, you know,
It's
the
a book, bro.
subtitles.
It's so dialogue heavy in these episodes. I was thinking about that just tonight.
Yes. And I think that might be why my take is different than Asher's is Rock Lee is an experience.
Yeah.
And I feel like, as every voice matures as it goes throughout any show, whoever is voicing Rock Lee in this moment, I would be friends with them too. Because they just I would just want to talk to this person. The voice is so like Logan said, it's legendary. And I can get that vibe from the first little interactions with him.
Yeah.
But I'll bring it up again because I don't want to derail it. But there is another reason why I did sub or dub for this episode. But yeah, Rock Lee in dub. I agree with Logan. It's
Yeah. For anybody that's watching or listening, if you're watching in dub, like no sweat. If you're watching in sub, no sweat. We're watching in sub right now. I've watched in both. I think we talked about this in previous episodes. I just want to rehash it a little bit. But they're both great. I think that they both have their pros and cons. I think that dub gets a bad rap a lot of times. But I mean, I don't even know how many times I have watched it in dub specifically because of the nostalgia factor. But it's also just easier. I mean, especially Zach has kids, so I mean, like, I get it. If it's like easier to parent and have this on the background, you can track with it, obviously, without having to give every single second. So there's no right or wrong. Like, it's such a personal preference. And I have gone through this like multiple times with anime that I've started, the anime that I've already watched, like Naruto and whatnot. And I'll go back and forth and I'll say, like, what should I do? I've looked up Reddit posts, like trying to get somebody to make the decision for me. And ultimately I came to the decision that it is basically based on how I'm feeling at that time. If I am struggling, if I want to watch, but I'm struggling to maintain my focus because of sub, I'll switch to dub. It's a lot easier for me to multitask if that's kind of where my brain's at. Or if it's extremely dialogue heavy and I'm sitting there pausing over and over again to read the subtitles, I will switch to dub. But I don't know. I do think that there's a lot of merit to sub. We've gone over that, like I said, but yeah, no sweat. I don't think that if either of you switch to dub at some point, like, you're not getting a different product. Like, you're getting the same gist of the story. You're not going to read the exact same translation because it's more literal whenever you do sub, but you know, that won't sell. That, I mean, dub is a product. Like, it needs to sell on TV. So things get changed, but it's the same story. So no sweat. I don't think twice about that.
Well, I think a good argument for dub on this particular episode on 21 is we get introduced to so many like new characters with like Gara and then like Team 8, Team 10. It kind of I have a confession too. I did watch this in dub. It's been like 2 years, but this was about as far as I got into it, and I don't really remember it too much, but I think it did help just to kind of keep track of everybody's like different names. Like, I was pausing on this one and I jotted down and figured out like who was in each team and stuff just because I was being a nerd about it and I wanted to remember all of them. And Gara's freaking me the hell out. But but yeah, I did actually watch it in dub before. I kind of liked going from that to sub for this watch through, but there were some, like, I'm glad you said that, Zach, because I think there, and Logan too, so I think there will be some that I go back and kind of even like listen back through just in dub, kind of hear it like a podcast or something.
And I think that in the dialogue sections of this show, it is pretty true. There's going to be people that disagree with me. I do not care. It is pretty true to the same exact thing. Where dub kind of falters for me is the fighting scenes, is where things get heated and things come across a lot more cheesy in English. And it may still feel that way in Japanese, but because I don't know the language, it doesn't feel that way. It feels more intense. And I think that that's lost in dub sometimes. But with that being said, there's still some fights in dub that are like iconic that I absolutely love. But I think that specifically with dialogue, there's a lot of merit to it, to me.
Yeah, I've not seen a fight yet in dub, so I can't really speak into that very much, but I can see where you could draw that conclusion. Just because some of even the phrasing and like we talked about, they're all teaching each other in the moment, and that might feel weird. Is like, why aren't you, like retaliating instead of like talking? But
Yeah.
in Japanese, with the music and the way they speak and just the whole art form that it is in the original way, it feels like what you said, Logan. It feels intense. It
Yeah,
feels like this is a very tense moment, and I'm reading these words, but if I'm reading it with the inflection of their voices in Japanese, whereas in dub, I could see it maybe being more Americanized and watered down, because even the whole conversation about age, right? Naruto's voice in American, um, in the dub, I say American, but in English,
Hmm.
um, it feels older than the voice of the Japanese voice artist in these episodes. Like Naruto feels a lot younger in the Japanese ones than he does in the English dubbed episodes for these specific 5 that we watched this week.
I
Um,
completely agree with that. I
and I
think
wonder
that
if that's because they don't want it to feel like this young kid is dealing with these adult, again, I'm raising up my air quotes, issues, and kind of that gap of culture that, you know, I don't know.
no,
Yeah,
I
that's
agree. Go
interesting.
ahead.
That might be why I was thinking that they were older when I first watched through, like up to this point, because it was in dub, and everyone just kind of like, I mean, looks. I think looks in anime can be pretty deceiving. Like they could be 12 or they could be like 16, 17, 18 or something. And I just assumed that they're all like closer to adulthood for some reason when I watched it in dub. So it was it was really surprising to me when somebody was like, "Yeah, they're like 12 years old." Um, it just
Yeah,
seemed kind of strange, and for all that they're going through as well.
I was showing, actually, Zach was there that day. I was at Zach's work and I was showing a friend of ours this. We were talking about this podcast and I pulled up the first episode. And at the very beginning, it talks about like, the nine tailed fox attacks the Hidden Leaf Village. And then it's like, and then 12 years later. And I was like, oh, there's right there. It's 12. I don't know why I doubted that.
Mm.
But I I think that that's maybe this is me guessing. I don't know Japanese culture the way that I would like to, but uh maybe it's a little bit of like different expectations for different ages, and maybe that's why 12 is also acceptable for him to like live on his own.
Hmm.
Because you hear like these little like sounds that Naruto makes, like even like right before the exam starts, whenever he like realizes it's a paper exam, and he's like, "Oh no, like this is not good." And his reaction in sub compared to dub is very different. I would say in sub it sounds a little bit more trivial and more childish, but it's like so in character for Naruto. And I
Mm,
think that they stay in character in the dub as well, but like there's a higher age that they try to keep that from going below, if that makes sense.
Mm.
So like where it can feel a little bit more goofy and just overall the show can feel a little bit more goofy and is allowed more grace in that for the sub. I think that maybe they tried to eliminate that in the dub, which I think so. I I agree with whoever said that a little bit ago. I think that they try to elevate it a little bit so that it doesn't feel so childish. Because if you get in there and you hear Naruto's voice and it's not at least teenage esque, it's not going to sell to teenagers.
Mm.
So,
right.
um, especially not in the early 2000s, like not when this is coming out in America and anime is not huge. So they're trying to do everything they can to keep this in the mainstream or get it in the mainstream at this point. But yeah, so let's keep. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, based on the conversation around the test, and we can pull it up later too, but I just made the note, like, I think I made it in the dub version when I wrote this note. I said in all caps, they are really stressed about this test because in the sub version, it felt like everyone was stressed, but in the dub version, it was stressed,
like life or death.
Well, and it was to them because they're either going to continue or they're not, and that's their life. And I feel like the dub for that scene made me like immediately go back to a high school, middle school desk where I was not prepared for a test, and this was going to either make or break my grade. And obviously that's not as intense as what they're going through, but they nailed that whole vibe of saying this, like they nailed the entire experience of this test is just rattling me to the core.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think that they do a great job. Well, now that we've spent 30 minutes trying to endorse dub, let's just start talking about the fight. So the first fight we see is Rock Lee and Sasuke. And we are led to believe that Rock Lee is like the best Genin that there is. And he kind of backs it up a little bit. I mean, he beats the shit out of Sasuke. And he was like going to finish it too. It was not going his way. He was getting beaten every single direction as far as taijutsu is concerned, which is, as we saw, a huge weakness to the Sharingan.
The thing I do like about him is that whole like hard work beats out natural talent. I like that as kind of another perspective to some stuff we've talked about before, that they have some bloodline stuff going on and things that they're born into abilities wise, which is cool.
Oh boy, wait for season 2. I
can't wait.
That is a theme. I don't mind to tell you guys that, but that's something that Naruto hounds on as well, that like hard work is, and I think that that's just a lesson of the show, or of the manga to begin with, is that it doesn't matter where you're coming from, hard work is gonna produce fruit. So
I'm kind of confused, if I'm being honest. Remind me when Rock Lee and Sasuke fight.
That is episode 22. I think the end of 21 they like are really heating up, but 22 is when
they're in like the waiting room?
Yeah, so
like
they're
America's Got Talent.
Yeah, kind of. So they're in like a recessed place, like it's got wood floors, and then there's stairs that go up, and then there's like a balcony. If you were watching the video, then you'll see me doing hand gestures to kind of build this out. So they're all down here, and then like that turtle appears. Do you remember that?
Sort of. Maybe I missed that. I've got a ton of notes on episode 22, though.
I don't know how you could miss it, but
was it like an intense fight like Zabuza? Or was it just like an altercation?
It all happened in one episode.
It's
and
like proving grounds more than even an altercation, I'd say. Like Rock Lee challenges him and is like, I can take you. And Sasuke's like, the hell you can. And then they...
Yeah.
It feels more sparring to me than anything, but they're really going for it.
Yeah. They fight. He gets called down. We're introduced to his sensei, who has a striking resemblance to Rock Lee. And Naruto is like,
cringe.
There's 2 of them.
Right. Yes.
So it's right before that. And then that's whenever Guy Sensei introduced himself. He says, I'm Kakashi's rival, and I'm actually up by 1 right now. Like 50 to 49 or something
No,
like that.
I think I need to rewatch this because that doesn't ring a bell at all.
Wow. Okay, so you might want to rewatch 22.
That's fun. I like that they have some rivalry going on.
Me too.
And Guy Sensei is an absolute dingus.
Dude.
I'm so ready to see where that and Rock Lee go. As cringe as he is, I like the hard work beats out the natural talent, and just I mentioned this to you all in a text, but they're fulfilling a certain like niche whatever of character that I feel like was lacking up to this point, and I didn't realize it was lacking until they both showed up. But it's the worst, and it's the best too.
Yeah. I absolutely adore basically all of the characters. But Rock Lee and Guy Sensei do get some like development. Everybody gets development. Yeah. I mean, every single character gets development. Well, how about this? Every single of like the 9 Genin that we've been introduced to gets development. Not every single character, but whenever you find out more about those two and their relationship and how they came together and why they came together, because all of these teams are formed on purpose. And you see Aruka get a little upset about them being submitted because he thinks that he still feels attached to them, which is totally understandable. But you saw Kakashi snap back and be like, well, that time's over. I'm the leader now, and I say that they're ready to go. But whenever we get to their development, I think that a lot of respect will be built. Maybe some love. Maybe.
Oh man.
Maybe.
I love them all.
Now, with that being said, I can't remember when that happens. I think it might happen in season 2, like whenever there's some
no spoilers
flashbacks, but well, I mean, it's gonna happen, but I just can't remember when.
I have maybe a hot take on a new character.
I wanted to ask you all about some new characters too. Yeah.
I have, so in the first, was it the first episode you asked our favorite character design or second?
I think it was the first episode.
I might have asked
fashion.
Or did you ask that?
I was asking who you all thought had the best like kind of fashion to them. But Logan, you might have asked about like character design, like more overall.
I don't know. One of our listeners let us know. Whoever said that. I don't know. So it doesn't really matter.
My answer was Naruto. He was the best I've seen so far. And I have a tie.
Okay.
Now, I want to know more
Choji
about Kiba, Inuzaka, and Akamaru.
Hang on. Whoa, pause it. Kiba and who?
Akamaru, his dog.
Akamaru, sorry.
Akamaru.
Yeah, that threw me through a loop. I was like, who are we talking about? So Kiba and Akamaru. Okay.
Yeah, I love the pair. I love that he has a dog with him at all times. I love that they're kind of in sync. It feels, a little surreal, maybe an advantage, Yeah. I love the dog design. Akamaru. I need to remember that.
Akamaru.
So Kiba, Inuzaka, and Akamaru.
Yeah. So
I love that character design. I love his outfit. I love, kind of his voice. I love everything about this guy.
I love that in his introduction, Naruto says, because they do that little freeze frame, and then Naruto gives a little brief introduction to each.
I love that part.
Same. And whenever he says Kiba and Akamaru, he's like, they're louder than I am. I thought that was great.
Good self-awareness.
Yeah. And I think that I had made a note to bring up that they're cheating in the exam. They can communicate, which is the first time we really see it to that level. Obviously, this is the first time we've seen the pair at all, but like something that's pretty outside of our realm of reality to like have a dog sit on your head and feed you answers to a test. But when I watched that, I was like, dude, I would love that. If I could communicate with either of my dogs that way, I would take it
That's
every
what I'm
single
saying.
time.
Yeah, it made me definitely jealous that he was able to, not only just have that companion, but also like that advantage. Like,
Yeah.
I just feel like the development here, like Akamaru is probably going to get older and bigger and stronger. Who knows? But I'm here for it if it happens. I love the pair.
I feel like that's
Great.
gonna feed into like maybe fights later or some kind of like that ability will come in handy or something. But if anything happens to that dog, I'm burning this entire podcast to the ground.
That's great.
It's over.
Well, we will ride it out until then.
Oh my God, I'm so
Do they have a
nervous.
movie like Marley and Me, but like Akamaru and you?
Akamaru.
Yeah, I don't know. We need to look that up.
Hey,
that's really funny.
Speaking of the newer characters, did you all have like any standouts or any favorites? And I can list them because I did organize them all.
Let's do the list for the listeners.
Okay, and tell me if I'm like mispronouncing any. But the one group that was like they get introduced to at the end of episode 20 was Gaara, Tamari, and then Kankuro. Kankuro. Okay. The others with Kiba are Shino and Hinata.
Yeah.
Little love connection there. Uh-oh.
Ooh.
Naruto. And then Ino, Shikamaru, and Choji, who is eating constantly. He's like the Brad Pitt of Genin, I guess.
What?
Have you ever seen an Ocean's movie? Ocean's 11, 12, 13?
No, I've never.
Have you
I
not?
only watch anime.
Brad Pitt is... Oh, that's right.
I'm playing.
No, Brad Pitt's eating in every scene. He's just eating
really
like sloppy sandwiches, like not attractive food.
Oh, wow.
But I made that joke because Choji's like,
at least it's not pork rinds.
Yeah, true.
What do you mean at least it's not pork rinds? Why do you say it's not pork rinds?
It's always pork rinds in Choji's hand.
Oh, and okay, I thought you meant okay. You're talking about
crunchy, stinky pork rinds. It just seals the deal.
We are not dogging pork rinds right now.
No, I'm not. But like moderation, please. And look at me if you're on video. Like I can say that.
Okay, first of all, like I love pork rinds. I think that they're so good. So
now I know what I'm getting you for Christmas.
Yeah, same.
Well,
we got 12 months.
I'd rather want. I want to finish my collection of headbands at this point. But yeah, we will definitely see more of that. Choji is I would like to get our dear friend Lance's opinion on Choji because he has some interesting views. That makes it sound condescending. I don't mean it that way. He just has different views. Okay. But I don't have an affinity towards Choji. He's like so fine to me. Like
he's just there.
Like he's just like a 5. Like it's just like he's there. I don't really love him even from the beginning. Like right here, I'm just kind of like I want you to be forgettable. But
wow,
yeah. But he has some development that makes you love him. And I love him just less.
Oh, I can't wait for that. Oh, wow. Okay.
But and I hope you guys, and I think you guys might feel differently. I don't really know why. I don't know if it was because like growing up, I like didn't want to like Choji because I didn't want to be like fat, and I was so afraid of being fat as a child. So I don't know if maybe that's just me trying to read into it like I'm a therapist or something. But yeah, that's my only guess. I I do want to bring up while I'm thinking about it. So another listener of ours, if you're listening and you would like to contact us, you're more than welcome to. We always love the input. But
Oh yeah, our email's in the show notes always. So
yes,
you
and
can
our
always-
social media, we'll go over all that.
Yeah.
But I got a text and he said, I always just assumed that this is a callback to like episode 1, maybe 2 probably. I always just assumed they used podcast episode 2. I always just assumed they used objects around them to substitute with. So like most of the time they would use it in the woods, and maybe there were some instances that this doesn't hold up. Like I assumed they could use like a rock or something if that's what they are around instead of trees. And then he said for the substitution jutsu. So he was texting me like in response to us talking about how the substitution jutsu works and all that. So I responded and was like, that's really interesting. Like basically where did you get that from? And he said, in the episode I watched today, talking about the anime, Kakashi talks about a bunny raised in captivity to use as a substitution. So I think that supports my theory. And
oh, interesting.
Yeah. So you're just switching and cloning something in the area. And I was like, that is super interesting. He said that that's episode 7 of the anime, whenever Zabuza first shows up. And we see that rabbit. And I kind of just attributed the rabbit to always being there. But
I did not
with
make
that little
connection.
tidbit, neither did I.
Huh.
I never have. Because whenever we talked about it in, I guess, episode 2 of the podcast, I believe that I just talked like it was like to the element that they were trained in and where they're raised from and what they can substitute with. But yeah, the rabbit theory is, I think that supports what he was saying. I think that makes complete sense. He asked me to give him a shout out. His name is Christian. He's a great friend. I've played tennis with him for forever. Well, back when I could play tennis, but I absolutely just love that he gave that input. So if you're listening and you have input, you're not going to be the only one because we've got other people doing it. So please jump in the conversation. We want to hear all that. But
I'm telling you, we're going to have like a lore master one day and they're going to be fact checking us at every turn.
That would be amazing.
I think it'd be fun.
It would be like the fact checker. What was that? Like Around the Horn, or I think it was Around the Horn on ESPN. That at every show at the end, they would go over errors. So if any of them said something wrong, or it may have been pardon the interruption. I think it was pardon the interruption. But at the end, they would have Jim Rome. I don't know if you guys remember him. This is deep cuts of like early
throwback.
2000s ESPN, but they would go over it. So if one of them said something wrong, like a stat, I guess they were getting so many people calling in being like, hey, you said this wrong, that's wrong, that to the point that they made it a segment on the show that they were fact checking as they were going, so then they would correct themselves by the end of the episode. So if you are that person and you know Naruto to that level, we've got room up here. We've got room on this screen for you. We want to hear all the lore and fact checking. So
that'd be fun. It's
yeah.
like an end of a season thing. Like, hey, what did we get wrong?
Yes.
Let's have a special guest to pardon the interruption.
Yeah, and we're at the end of season 1. So if if you want to go back and review the first 4 episodes, whoever you are, lore master, please do it. Make a list, send it to us. We will correct ourselves on the episode. And
speaking of
apologize for it.
the last 3 that I have written down here, as far as like newer characters that are the younger ones, I guess, Rock Lee, Neji, and Tintin. Is that right?
Tintin. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
You mentioned earlier that there were like 9 that were introduced to. Are there actually 12 total, like, of those new characters that kind of
both
continue?
So 9
okay,
9 new characters. Well, how about this? There's 15 new characters if you really think about it. Oh, there's more than that. I shouldn't even say a number right now. Anyways, there's 9
I'm not gonna remember.
rookie Genin. There are
Okay.
and then for
Then-
specifically for Tenten, Rock Lee, and Neji, that team is Guy Sensei's, and we get a flashback of this where Guy Sensei and Kakashi are talking, and he's like, I held my team back for a year. They need to develop. And then Kakashi's like, I don't even have to hold them back, and they'll still surpass your guys, which I think is amazing.
God, it's great trash talk.
Yes, but so they have been Genin for a year. They're a year older than our Team 7.
Okay.
But they're a part of like the younger generation, and you kind of get a feel for that even whenever because it's their first time taking the Chunin exam too. So whenever they go into the exam room and everybody's there, they don't walk out and introduce them the same way, because we've already been introduced to them but they don't introduce them the same way they introduce the 9 Genin or the 9 rookie Genin. So you've got well, you just went over the list.
Team 7, 8, and 10 would be the 9.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Where's Team 9? Is that Guy Sensei's team?
I'm gonna leave that to the lore master. I don't know. I've not. I'm sure there's an answer. I haven't even looked into it. I haven't even thought about it really.
Okay, and then Gaara, Tamari, and Kankuro, those are from like a different area.
Yeah, they say it, so I'm not afraid to say it. They're from the sand village.
Yeah, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's pretty obvious because Gaara is apparently made of sand and just like floats around and I don't know. I don't know what's going on with that guy. He's so creepy.
Yeah.
He is definitely at a My Chemical Romance concert somewhere.
Dude. He
frightens me deeply.
And okay, his dub performance is legendary in kind of the same way as Rock Lee. And now when I say legendary, I want to clarify. I don't mean immaculate. I don't mean perfect. I don't mean like this is the truest form. I just mean remembering or that's not how I want to say that.
Memorable.
Memorable.
Yeah, I got you.
Thank you. As soon as that came out of my mouth. But extremely memorable. I think the character is extremely memorable, but the way that he's performed, and I'm interested to get into later in the series and listening to him in sub, because it's been a while since I've listened to him in sub, because there's some anime has a lot of noises, like a lot of noises coming from people. So you hear a lot of like, like just like weird, like body noises, like almost like just like, or mouth noises.
I'm going to sample that and make a little soundboard of Logan.
That's great. So, but Gaara's got a very memorable dub casting. So I think that maybe we just watch double and we just do one round in dub.
I'd be so down.
I could. Oh, it'd be so tough for me. I don't know if I could actually do it.
I could consume a lot more of this. I think that might get old after a few seasons, but I would do it.
Well, I do want to also kind of field this with our listeners as well. This is something that's going to evolve. So we've got, and we'll get back into the episodes, I promise, because we're kind of getting to the end of the batch and what happens. But this is something that's going to evolve. Right now, I've broken up the episodes in a way that I think is probably the most digestible for Z and for Asher. And that's just like 5 to 7-ish episodes. And we seem to fill up a podcast pretty easily with that. A lot of banters in there as well. But if you, the listener, watcher, whoever, feels like it could probably hold more, and you think that it could be a little bit more faster paced or whatever, voice that. We don't mind. I mean, the worst we're going to say is like, well, that's just not what our lifestyle can hold right now. We're just going to have to keep going at this pace. But I will say there's some weeks so far, like last week, that I was like, man, 6 episodes feels like an eternity. Not because the content's bad, just everything else going on in life. And then there's other weeks where I'm like, I could pump out 20 and probably talk about all 20. but I want to see where you guys are at. I mean, this is obviously being recorded, so like we usually do this type of talk afterwards, but are you vibing with the pacing?
Right now, yeah, because I'm able to consume, 5 to 6. I think the most we've done is 9, and it's not felt too much, but I definitely go back and rewatch, just to pick up on things I missed, or, maybe I'm just, feeling adventurous and just wanna, go another round of notes. I feel like if we did 20, that would be less likely to happen.
Oh, that's an exaggeration. I mean,
I know.
taking it from like, well, for the listener watcher, I mean, taking it from like a 5 average to like a 8 average, maybe a 9 or 10, like nowhere above 10. I think it gets really, I mean, there's not arcs that last like more than that consistently. There definitely are, but I mean, definitely not at this part. So continue. Sorry.
I feel more comfortable with the 5 to 7 than the 8 to 9, but if other people feel differently, I'm not gonna, like, fight it.
No, I'm with you. I'm saying I could consume more because I just want to know more of the story like faster. I think for talking about it, we could go as little as like 3 episodes and have plenty to talk about.
Oh, we
So
brush over so much. I completely agree with
yeah,
that.
but
That's a great
I
point.
like this because I feel like it's keeping a good pace.
Okay,
I dig
cool.
it.
I agree. I think that it's still, you know, like I said, extremely digestible for, that 5 to 7 is kind of the sweet spot that we found that
Mhm.
at least for early Naruto that like we can either break up some things like we had to break up the Zabuza arc. Now that would have been a tough one to cover in one episode because there's so much that happened and there's so much world building. I mean, it's the very beginning of that series. So I think that is necessary for that. So voice your opinion. If you got a different opinion, would like to hear it. But for right now, I think we just keep, vibing with what we got. So let's continue. So we we're in the exam room now. Everybody's been introduced. Naruto doubles down on, I mean, that is like Naruto. Like he doubles down on everything. It is like everybody thinks, oh my God, let's shut up. And Naruto's like, I will kill anyone that gets in
Yep.
my way. I mean, it's not kill, but he's like, I will beat you no matter what. And he so clearly can't at this point.
Right.
But yeah, we get a cool character introduction with Kabuto. We get some more like world building and just like interesting little facts, like the way, like with his cards and how those work. And I think that that's just a tool that they use to kind of explain in a more practical way about the Chunin exam and how it's
That
like
was video
world
game tutorial.
encompassing.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, I agree with that.
That was
Um,
Kabuto, right?
so it's in the dub, it's pronounced Kabuto.
Okay.
And that's why Zach, that ramen place here in town, I corrected you. Or no, that's Yamato, isn't it?
Yamada.
Yeah, he said Yamada, and I was like, you mean Yamato? But so yeah, so we get introduced to him.
I put sus. I just put his name down with a question mark and then sus right afterward. He seems
There it is. If you're watching the video, he's got a
talk Zach.
Yamada.
Yamada. There's an O on the end.
Yamato.
There we go.
So that's more appropriate.
Yamato. It's like tomato, right? This is America.
Yamato.
Kinda. But I think that's exactly what Zach said to me when I corrected him. I think that's exactly what he said. So
Tomato.
So we get introduced to him. We're introduced to some sound ninja. And then
they don't look fun, by the way.
Well, we'll see. There's so many exam participants. I had forgotten that
It's America's Got Talent, bro.
Literally, basically, I think that that's a great way to describe it. Because they're all in
Da-da-da-da-da-da.
there for the same thing, all believing they can do it.
I mean,
And
anytime you see somebody like practicing his saxophone, everyone's just like, dude, we're waiting in here like for like 5 hours. Do you have to do that? That's the vibe I get.
Mute button.
and then Naruto is that most annoying person that everybody's like, I hope he doesn't even pass. I hope he doesn't get through to the next round.
Did
They
Naruto
better not give
say?
him.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say they better not give him the golden whatever it is. I can't remember from
Yeah.
America's Got Talent, whatever they do.
Did Naruto say Choji would eat his own head if he could? Was that his introduction to Choji? Because that was pretty hysterical.
I'm gonna be honest. This is just because of what's going on in my life. At that point in time, I'm just gonna pull it up. At that point in time,
So
I
funny.
was so nauseous from the medicine
Being
that I
pregnant.
just started.
Oh, that's what it was. Yeah.
I probably was looking at my phone.
Well, then Kabuto.
Hang on, I've got it right here.
Kabuto's like telling him all those cards.
Sorry, go ahead.
And Naruto goes, I haven't a clue what's going on here, but I'll act like I do. At least in the sub. It's hilarious.
I love that part.
That's on par with, like, I think the funniest moment out of all of season 1 is where the third Hokage is explaining things and it cuts back to them and Naruto's like, I love ramen, but I hate waiting the 3 minutes for it to boil in water. And everyone's just like looking at him like, yeah.
That is way more interesting than what the Hokage has to say. And he's like, yesterday I had miso ramen, but today I'll probably have this. Oh, dude, I absolutely love that. So here's what the sub says. It says Choji Akamichi. And then it says, he's always eating something. That's all he is, a fat idiot.
Oh my God. That's awful. That's a very middle school thing to say about one of your like colleagues, I guess.
Yes, I completely agree.
There's so many middle school comments though, because
Yeah.
Naruto not piecing together that Hinata acts the same way that he does around Sakura is so middle school.
Yes, just completely blind.
So blind. Like she's acting the same way you do around the girl you have a crush on. Just not sure what to do, stumbles on your words. And he's like, I don't know what's going on with her.
Yeah, he's like, what?
She's
What
an
is
alien
this?
or
She
something.
seems. Yeah, he's like, she seems like a. What does he say? He says she seems like a gloomy, shy girl, I guess, or something like that. And she's so clearly into him.
Oh, it's adorable. Does he actually like Sakura? Like, that seems really unclear to me up to this point.
He's always trying to hang out with her.
Does Naruto like Sakura? Like, oh yeah.
Okay.
Yes, that is his like love interest right now. He is so about Sakura. I
guess because it feels so middle school, he's kind of, it was hard for me to tell if he actually likes her or if he's like, hey, you can hang out with me instead, since Sasuke's like walking away being cool guy. And I'm like, is he just wanting a friend, or is it like a romantic thing?
Oh no, it's definitely romantic.
He's trying to get a nosebleed, if you know what I mean.
Kissy face and a
nosebleed.
So,
I want to talk about episode 26, which isn't a part of our watching batch at all. But did either of you watch it? I know Asher did. Okay, I didn't either. I've seen it before, but I didn't watch it this time. But I may watch it tonight just to do it.
So I had seen it before and I started to watch it and I was like, oh, I remember what this is. And I turned it off after like 5 minutes.
Gotcha. Okay, that's fine. So then let's go back. So the exam happened. Were there any surprises here for you guys? Was there anything that jumped out?
Well, before we go to the exam, I just want to bring up two things that happened in the lobby, if you will.
Yeah.
First is Shino. Shino is another one of those characters that I just feel like they did a good job with, and I hope I see some development in the future. My note was, Shino gives me the vibe he's going to be powerful later on. He just has that like ominous, I'm hiding something that you're not ready for. But he's also got that like Professor Membrane from Invader Zim vibe with the big trench coat and dark glasses. Um, Big fan of that character too. Um, and I was honestly bringing that up just to gauge your face, and you're not giving me anything. So good job on no spoilers.
I'm trying not to because
I ho-
I don't want to.
I really don't want the spoiler, but I definitely feel like there's going to be more of him in the future. The other thing, we talked about Kabuto already, but and we talked about the village of the sound or whatever, the
Mhm.
newest village. W- Of these 5 episodes that we watched, there hasn't been like a ton of like action as a like what I was thinking would maybe happen with the Zabuza arc. I'm glad their dynamics are, back to more of like a story building, world building type scenario, but I was definitely hoping for some action in some way. And my favorite scene because of that is when everyone's like, they didn't do anything to Kabuto whenever they like used the sound
Oh
jutsu or whatever they were
yeah.
using. And then all of a sudden his glasses crack and like it like slow-mo just like explodes away. That was such a cool animation for sound destroying something because it was like it broke the barrier of this glass. And
It completely
Kabuto,
disoriented him as well.
oh yeah, I mean it wasn't even like you said, it wasn't over just from the glasses. He like bent over and was like clearly affected on the inside. Something happened. And I'm like, these guys have something that I feel like is going to be a challenge later on.
He shit his pants. That's what you're trying to say.
Ultimate punch.
I do like how in the oh my gosh. So this is not pertinent to Naruto at all, but my wife and I just started watching the John Wick series because they leave tonight's the last night and we only watched the first two, so we're gonna have to rent the third one. But Winston in that series is the stepdad from Hot Rod.
Oh,
And I
that's
pointed
right.
that out to Bree tonight. She was like, are you serious? Like that feels so
That's
different because
amazing.
it's such a drastically different character. But Ultimate Punch is from Hot Rod. Go watch that. It's not anything like Naruto, but do it. I agree. I think that the Sound Ninja are extremely interesting. I'm trying to talk and trying to keep spoilers out of it. So I'm trying to talk like I only know what you guys know. But they're ominous and creepy and weird and extremely prideful. And
Oh, sounds like a bunch of musicians. Ugh.
I think that they didn't really they just I think they assumed a lot of like viewer knowledge here because they never explicitly said this is out of character for excuse me for Naruto and for anime in general to not explain every single thing, but they were too far away to hear Kabuto insult them, but they still heard it. And
Oh,
then
interesting.
yeah. And then they all heard it like extremely like because the room they don't really show it, but the room's supposed to be still like talking. Everybody kind of goes back to normal. They're back near the entrance where Naruto makes this huge ruckus, and everybody just kind of like does their own thing. They're not all watching this go down, but the sound ninjas still hear it, and then they start moving around the room like ninja, and then that attack is extremely interesting, and I
Yeah.
don't know what else to say there,
Okay,
so I'm
just
just
yeah,
gonna
just
leave it
don't.
at interesting.
All I
Yeah.
put
feel
down for
like
them was that the sound people are nuts. And that was
yeah,
my last note for episode 23.
everything that they did was wild. I mean,
Yeah.
and it kind of makes sense. I mean that they're prideful. I feel like they're trying to prove that they're a village that's worth the time of the tradition of all the others that have been established. So I can already kind of piece that understanding together. But yeah, I actually listened to this scene with headphones on, which is out of character for me because I was not at home when I watched it. Um But in that scene, when they hear him, they did a good job of sound design because um there was a bunch of like just gnat sound of like a it almost felt like a subway station or like a just a
Just like white
crowd
noise.
talking. No, it was like actual people talking and like it wasn't just like static. It was like, muttered conversations here and there, but it was like intense.
Mhm.
And I was I went back and listened to dub later, like I said earlier, and I couldn't tell just from my speakers. But whenever I listened to it on headphones, I literally thought like, who's here? Like who's talking? But it's just interesting that the sound design with the sound village, they're being intentional that way.
Mm.
But everything they did, I agree, was just like too much. It was
Yeah.
wild.
So I'll raise my question again. Was there anything that kind of shocked you guys and I'm talking about like in the exam now. So we've started the exam. We're kind of getting to the end of the batch. We're actually in the last 2 episodes now, 24 and 25. Um, First impressions or just impressions in general.
Overall, I enjoyed it. I did make a note for episode 25 in particular that it was the slowest episode that I've seen so far of Naruto. I put like painful to watch, fell asleep the first time because that
Yeah.
was just a lot of, kind of exposition explaining like what just happened and then kind of getting into what's coming up, which I'm really excited for. But I think in like 23, 24, the way that they crafted that whole thing was cool. It was a good twist to what was going on. I really enjoyed that. And they keep subverting expectations, I feel like, for the show in general of how the teams are supposed to work together. And it's a lot of thinking outside the box. And it's a lot of losing my, and I'm assuming Zach's trust in what's happening at any given moment. So it's like, all right, written exam, cut and dry. And then it's this whole, teamwork operation.
Yeah. I mean, we even see that in what is that? Episode 23. Whenever Kakashi's standing in front of room 301 and he's like, "Oh, Sakura, you decided to come too. Now you guys can go in because if you didn't, then none of you were going in." But he couldn't
What?
tell. Yeah, and you couldn't tell him that because he was right. I mean, you say that and it's like it's either all or nothing. She's going to do it because of pressure,
Yeah.
not because she believes she can. Um so yeah, I think that Team Seven's getting stronger
Yeah.
in bond and in strength and all of it.
And it's a lot thanks to this guy right here. Love it.
Kakash.
You're gonna have to watch. If you're listening, you're just gonna have to watch because he's pointing at Kakashi. Okay,
I made
cool.
several
So,
notes
yeah, go
through
ahead.
24 and 25 of different things. Going back to the sound people, one of the things that was pretty cool to me was the way he cheated by listening to the patterns of the pencil on the paper.
Yeah.
And that's the way that he wrote down his answers. Super cool way to cheat. I'll just say that. If I could, I would. Um,
I think that's super interesting too, to before you keep going, the little bit of kanji that I do know. I was taught that you write in like certain strokes. So he could like hear which strokes were coming. So because if I write down like my name, Logan, you could write that and start at different points in English whenever you're using Roman letters. And that could produce different sounds. But from my understanding, I'm sure that it's different. And I'm sure you can write it different ways. But from my understanding, it's like you do this stroke first for this symbol, then this stroke, and then that creates that kanji symbol. So I think that that's interesting. That's just something I plugged that I was like, oh, I wonder if, I'm not saying it's this way, but I wonder if it was easier for him to tell what was being written because he could hear like 4 strokes break, 2 strokes break. And then like, I know that only this symbol would have that many strokes and in this like way. And that's just, until I'm either fluent or somebody tells me otherwise. I'm just guessing, but that's kind of my interpretation.
That's got to be some tedious training. I would not envy doing that.
Or it's infused with chakra somehow. I don't know.
Oh, true.
Like because the sound like jutsu, especially at this point, like we have no clue how any of that stuff works, and they leave it that way. Like we saw the fight or the little attack on Kabuto, and they didn't really like talk about how Kabuto like bent over and threw up, and they weren't like, oh, because of sound. They just were like, the glass shattered. Like that's what everybody cared about. So there's a lot of mystery there. Continue, Z. I didn't mean to cut. Well, I did cut you off on purpose, but continue.
No, you're good. You're good. Something that was shocking to me was the kind of rules as they went. Trust issues has been a theme of mine throughout this show. These episodes are no different. It was crazy to me how many people gave up at question 10. But at the same time, we already touched on this is life or death to them, and they didn't want to never have this chance again. So I get it. But at the same time, like knowing what question 10 was, and then like even in the moment when I was watching it and I didn't know what question 10 was, I was like, yo, why are so many people just like, because that first kid was like, I'm so sorry to his teammates. Please forgive me. Please forgive me. And they left. And then it was just like mass exodus. Yeah, we're done too. We're out of here. And that was shocking to me. But then when Naruto raises his hand, I was like, no way. This is, how are they going to spin this? I didn't realize this was going to be that way. And then this is what I wrote in my notes, all caps. Naruto raised his hand? Oh, even the exam gives me trust issues.
Oh my gosh.
That guy that did the exam or like led the whole classroom setting there, that's a clone for sure.
You think he's a clone?
I
think he's a clone from Colonel Miles Quaritch from Avatar.
Yeah.
Yikes.
On Pandora.
Yikes.
Oh, that Avatar.
That's so interesting. I was thinking about this whenever I watched it. I wonder how much because it felt like his hand was up for forever. And I know that with anime, there's a lot of time that like time suspends and they're trying to give everybody's immediate reaction to something that happens in like less than a second, but you can't do that in less than a second. So it takes time. So I wonder if his hand was only up for a little bit, like just long enough for him to like slam it back down. Or that's kind of my interpretation because it was up for a minute. Like it was just like hanging. It was
just like boom, like no, I'm not going to do this.
Yeah. But here's the deal. Back to sound design. It wasn't. I could see that if it was just like music, but he's going.
Very Dragon Ball Z in that moment.
See, that's what I mean about like body, just like noises, mouth noises, just like weird anime noises. But I still, watcher, listener, please let us know what you think. I'm still inclined to believe that that's happening in like less than a second.
I am inclined to believe you, but the sound is throwing me off.
But I think that it's because it's like changing perspective that it's still happening, but it's like happening over and over again instead of like 10 seconds, because it doesn't make sense. Every time that a hand went up, they were immediately like, this number and this number also fails. Get out. Like and I get it. The show's named Naruto. Like he's gonna be more dramatic and get away with it. But that's my justification of like why it was up for so long. But I mean, there's also that like main character plot hole or plot convenience where they can get away with stuff like that for the dramatic effect. Because I know in the manga, I mean, it's just a picture, so like it's only up for like one frame, like that's it, and then it moves on. But the pacing in manga can compared to the anime is just two completely different things. So, and I think that may attribute to just kind of like the liberties that the creators got to take. And then they, because we'll never know for sure, but they could have totally been like, this is 10 real seconds. And he did have it up for this long. But that's the joy of anime. There's the little time that there is to have something that's a little bit more vague. It's like interesting.
I could see it both ways though, because Ibiki was pretty intrigued. Like as tough as his exterior was and the way that he handled himself through this entire exam, I could tell that he was humored by Naruto. I could tell he wasn't as annoyed as the third Hokage would be, or as some of the other Jonin, right?
Yeah, well, they were in the Jonin, but the other proctors in there with him were Chunin.
Right. So as the village and the society is collectively more annoyed with Naruto, I feel like he was more humored and enjoyed the lightheartedness that Naruto brought to it, because I feel like it was almost shocking to me that he was like, that kid's a funny one or something, that whatever he said like 2 times. And I don't know, I feel like maybe he was just letting him process. If his hand was up that long, I feel like he would have been like, what's he gonna do? Is he gonna go? Or is he gonna, what's he working on in his head right now?
Yeah.
And when it was ultimately what he decided and slammed it back down, they even cut to his face and he's like, he just has like a little smirk of like, okay, cool. And he even like has this little thought moment too, like, wow, he's giving all these other kids confidence. How interesting. And so I don't know. I could see it both ways. I could see it being dramatic effect, and I could also see it being I'm processing this and also holding it for dramatic effect.
Yeah. I'm definitely open to both ways. Let us know what you think. I want to go back a little bit because we're at the very end, but I meant to bring this up. The cheating methods got pretty ridiculous because we saw somebody get slammed up against the wall or get called out for failing and then slammed up against the wall. And it was like, we don't miss a blink. And then Tintin has a mirror hanging from the ceiling with 2 kunai holding it. And I was like, how in the world would she get that up there?
Right.
It's just such a, you just kind of chalk it up to like whatever. It's just, it is what it is. And like she got away with it, obviously. And she's so good that she got away with it. But I just thought it was hilarious. Some of them, like, because Shino's is brilliant, but it's still like he held that bug right here. Like they'd be like, you're cheating. Like you're cheating. Like you do it better.
Yeah, you don't just hold bugs.
Yes. And then like Gaara's the same, like one of the most subtle, but it's still like if you're watching every single movement, like I feel like every single one of them would have been caught. Besides maybe, I think that Sasuke could have probably got away with it because of just copying movements, just looking around, copying movements, but his eyes would have given him away.
Yeah, that's true. And didn't Hinata just straight up talk to Naruto?
Yes,
and say then like, you can copy off of me.
Yes, I know.
Also, did this originate with Hinata, or was that a thing in anime like before, or do we know?
I don't know. It's probably a cultural thing if I had to guess, but it's the first place I ever saw it. And so whenever someone does this, to me it's Hinata every single time. And what we're doing is putting our index fingers together and like touching them.
Bashful way.
Yeah. And I don't know, like you're just gonna have to watch to see what.
But that's so strange that she like just straight up talks. It's like they're not gonna kick her out.
Right, dude. And Naruto like full turns and that kunai comes in between him. And then he was like, the sub was like, I was just about to turn. And I was like, you were fully leaned in. Like, and how are you gonna like, I don't know. It's just a discrepancy of it's the drama of it, but it's also like you're saying you're not missing anything, but then like some of the things that they get away with is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And we
I
didn't
for
really,
sure thought Conqueror's clone Proctor was going to be revealed, but then again,
it
I mean
was.
they never noticed that it was fake.
Ibiki did. At the
Did
very
he?
end, he said, yeah, what did he say? He came back from the bathroom and he said, oh, you're a lucky one. And, let me find it. He's like, you're a lucky one. I think that, or did you have fun playing with your dolls or something like that?
Strange. I missed that part. Like I guess I just wasn't fully paying attention or aware what was going on there.
Let me find it. Hang on.
And while you're looking for that, have you all both seen Stranger Things?
Yes.
Because when Hinata says it's because I don't want you to have to leave, I got some Will Byers vibes in that part. I feel like his whole thing is just like, I don't want to lose my friends. I don't want to stop playing Dungeons and Dragons. Like, why do we all have to freaking grow up?
Right.
I live there right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of nostalgia.
Yeah. So Ibiki says, aren't you lucky? And then Kankuro closes his puppet closes the door. He says, it looks like playing with the dolls wasn't a waste after all. And then Kankuro says, he said, this guy, he figured Crow out. And then he goes, anyways, sit down. So he did figure it out. It's pretty subtle, but yeah, they didn't, because and that's another thing. Like Conqueror's in the bathroom. He's like, they didn't even notice that their proctors grew by one. And it's like, how? And he doesn't even have like pupil, nothing, just white.
Right.
That's what I was getting at. Is like it didn't feel like another Proctor.
Yeah.
So, but I guess that makes sense. So,
well, I wonder if it makes me think now, just kind of with you all talking through that stuff, did Ibiki just sort of gloss over certain things that were happening because either he enjoyed it, kind of like what you're saying with Naruto. He's like, I don't know, I'm laughing at this funny kid. He can stick around, even though his, girl, not his crush, but the girl that's crushing on him is just straight up talking to him. It's fine because he likes certain people in the room or just the way that they're trying to care for each other or something like that.
Another thing we've not really like considered, maybe you guys have, he said specifically, at least in the sub, I'm not sure, Zach may have heard in the dub, he says like not to cheat in an awkward way. So there may be like a certain bar there that they're like, we see it, but like
that's gonna work
clever
when you're on a mission or something.
Yeah. And like we'll let that go because it's clever. It's not awkward. You're not just like leaning over and cheating, but they don't really explain how anybody gets caught. Like they just get caught and it's been 5 times or whatever. They have 0 points and then they eliminate them. So I think that's just kind of like up to our interpretation a little bit, but I think that there's some evidence there that maybe there's
good cheating and bad
leeway.
cheating.
Yeah.
Well, then that makes sense for Hinata because she only did that twice. And I feel like she's so smart is what they're getting at, is that she didn't cheat that whole time. She was just writing her own answers down. And so she only had 2 times where she talked to Naruto, like in groups, you know. So maybe she just didn't make it to 5.
Maybe. That's a great point. And I think that I meant to say this a minute ago. One of the persons that definitely would have gotten away with it was Neji. And because y'all remember how he cheated?
I don't remember.
Okay. Well, he uses his eyes and he sees through somebody, but we'll get more explanation on what he can do and what he can't do.
Okay.
But he uses his eyes, but his eyes don't change color the same way that like Sasuke's do. But Kankuro obviously got away with it. Tamari was going to get away with it, but got the answers late. Trying to think of like, I mean, Ino's wasn't. I mean, Sakura. Go ahead,
Sakura's
Zach.
rival, the other girl.
Oh, Ino.
That was a wild one. Yeah, Ino.
Yeah.
Where she like put her soul in Sakura's body. I was like, holy cow.
Yeah.
That's a unique power to have.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that, and besides her like going limp, like also an extremely useful, and I think that like also attributes to the theory that they're like judging how well they cheat. And like, because you're on a mission and you can get information that way, like that's extremely valuable.
Yeah,
One of the
that's
easiest
crazy.
and best ways out of what we saw.
She's a hot mess, by the way. There's
Yeah,
going to be
dude.
some stuff in the future going on.
Yeah.
Some rivalries or something.
So I think that's kind of the end. Do you guys have any other notes or anything you wanted to talk about? Oh, we didn't even answer our like favorite side characters. Let's end with that.
Yeah.
And Z's got something too. He said he put his finger up.
Do it.
One last thing, actually, two last things from episode 25. Anko or Anko,
Yeah, at
the
the
girl
very
that
end.
comes in.
Yeah.
The next
Calling
Proctor?
them maggots.
Anko is how I believe it is. That's how I've always heard it. Anko.
She is Naruto in 20 years in a girl form. She is, I mean, she's got some energy. I'll give her that. But yeah, I'm excited to see what happens in the Forest of Death.
Like if Naruto went the university route and chose to teach in the future.
Anko.
There it is.
Believe it.
It's a good take. Z, let's go with your favorite side character. Did you already answer this?
Side character like the newest additions?
Yeah, I think Zach or Asher, what was the question you'd asked?
Yeah, I was just wondering, like, out of all those new characters, I guess we could keep it specifically to the 12, like the 4 new teams of 3. Who would be your favorite, or who stuck out the most?
You go ahead, Z.
Or maybe even like, who are you most excited to see develop?
Yeah, I feel like I already answered that with Kiba and
Oh,
Akamaru.
you did. And then I got distracted because of that. Yeah.
But I could also see myself intrigued with Shino's team. They also feel annoying to me at the same time. So I'm gonna stick with Kiba. What about you guys?
Shino is the same team as Kiba, by the way.
All right, then I'm right there.
Just that.
Who's
team.
the third person on that team?
Hinata.
Hell yeah.
That's a good group.
Yeah.
And that's
you go.
I liked that group.
Go ahead, Asher. I want to hear.
I think Gaara is the one I'm most intrigued by. It just scares the hell out of me. Like I want to know backstory with this guy, because like, what in the world could it be? Again, I think he's just made of sand. He's obviously a clone, as most of them are. But I think also Ino, like with that ability, that's really interesting to me. And I haven't really gotten into the people's like abilities as much as the story aspect and just kind of the conversations that are going on. But that seems like a cool one to see what happens with it in the future.
Yeah, they've not really revealed too much about what all these characters can do anyways. I mean, we literally got shoved into Ino's like jutsu, and all that was said was Shikamaru said, so she used that jutsu. Like that was it.
And they're on the same team with Choji, right?
Yeah.
That also seems like a hilarious trio.
Yeah, I like that team a lot. I like all the teams a lot. But that one's great. Trying to put myself, if this is all that I've watched.
Yeah, can you think back to this like for the first time?
No, I don't remember watching this for the very first time.
Okay.
I remember stage 2 and stage 3 much more vivid for the first time. But at this point in time, who would have intrigued me the most? I do remember that Kiba turned me off immediately. I remember that Choji turned me off immediately. I was interested in Shikamaru. I hated Gaara, but wanted to know more. Um, I was interested in Neji. Neji may be my answer.
I know,
but there's bias there, and I know there's bias there.
Yeah,
and that's my problem here. I'm always stuck in this weird limbo.
I know I shouldn't add like 2 more, but characters like, this is kind of a different category of intrigue, I guess, but characters like Hinata and Choji, I'm just like, what are they going to do? Like, what could their abilities be? Because we've gotten nothing so far.
Yeah.
As far as what I remember. So it's like the quieter kind of side characters like that. I'm kind of curious, like, what their abilities could be and how they develop. So
yeah, hang in there. Everybody will get their time. That's the thing about Naruto. It was about anime in general, but Naruto specifically, there's so many episodes, everybody gets their time. So well, cool. I think that kind of brings us to the end, if that is the end for you guys.
Yeah, I feel good.
Cool. So watcher, listener, we just finished season 1. Maybe real quick highlight of the season. Give me your favorite part of season 1.
I'll go quick because I think is just anytime Naruto, and I mentioned that he's not like my favorite character, but anytime he has those side comments like, I don't know what's going on right now, but I'm going to act like I do, or just describing the ramen. Hilarious.
Yeah, that's a great pick. What about you, Zach?
Highlight of the season would probably, I hate to do this, but I'm going to tie. I love Kakashi's leadership a ton. I think he's
a great answer.
A great leader, and I appreciate what's next. Tied for second would be the snow memorial for the death that we saw with Zabuza and what was the boy's name? I'm forgetting it. Haku. That was a special moment.
Yeah.
By the way, that's not a girl.
I said boy.
I know, but in the episode, he's walking away from Naruto and he's like, by the way, I'm a boy.
Oh yeah.
For me, I think it's probably the first time that we see like the 9-tailed fox kind of leak out of Naruto whenever he's protecting, or he's so upset that Sasuke's been quote unquote killed.
It's a sweet moment too. I like that.
It's just so cool. I think that you just get a glimpse, like just a little baby glimpse, and into what can happen. I think that tied for second, honestly, especially with this watch through with so much like purposeful like note taking and like trying to listen to every single part. I think that I'm with Asher. I think I absolutely love those little moments where Naruto is just like, this is boring, so let's talk about ramen. And then everybody's like, yes, let's, because we do not care about the different Hokage of the different lands. And then even whenever I watch this little batch and he was like, yes, I don't know what's going on, but I'm going to pretend. Like,
yes,
I think that that's so good. Okay, great. So watcher, listener, we finished season 1. Tell us what your favorite parts were. Let us know if that's what you'd like to do. We'd love to hear it, just because everybody's going to have a little bit of a different take and remember different things that kind of stuck out. I mean, it may even be like the first episode whenever Naruto defeats Mizuki, I believe it is. So yeah, let us know. But next week, just so that we are up to date, we will be watching episodes. Now we're skipping 26. 26 is filler. It's technically the end of season 1. You can watch it if you'd like. We're not going to cover it. Season 2, though. Now it may be different. It may be broken up a little bit different in different places, but this is like the official season changes. So it's going to be episode 27 through 32. We're going to go through 32. That's going to get us into the second stage of. Yeah, that's going to get us into the second stage of the Chunin exams. And then I think the following week, we will finish up the second stage. So watch along with us. Let us know if you're listening, watching to this in the future, then, you'll already know what episodes to watch. But if you're live with us and coming along for the ride, 27 through 32. So until next time, though, believe it.